Hi there everyone, I'm Richard. Welcome to Burning Spears. I'm cooking in the middle of a storm. It's winter in the UK, so what better to cook than a nice beef and Guinness stew. So stick around to see how it turns out, how I do it. And I'm going to be using my little Bush Baby cast iron pot today on a Kamado Joe. I generally cook everything on that, and you might have noticed that for those of you who have seen some of my videos. And excuse me for moving around, but it is nippy. And I'm going to take you through it with the small pot. I'll just sort of guess the quantities. I've got more than enough of anything. What I'll do is, what's left over, I'll make another stew inside in a pot on the normal stove, so I can utilize everything. But yeah, stick around and I'll take you through the ingredients and we'll see how it goes. I'm sorted. I've got some Guinness to drink, some red wine for later when the stew's finished. So yeah, looking forward to this, guys. Okay, so the beef in this case is going to be a chuck that I broke apart. I like a nice big chunk, nice meaty, so that you almost have to cut them with every bite, or you have almost a full mouthful on a bite. I've dried them off a bit so they don't steam too much. Then I'm not using too many ingredients today, so I've got some baby button mushrooms, some baby potatoes, thick cut or large cut onions, and then a mirepoix. So this is a cup. It's 2 medium carrots, 1 medium onion, and 1 large stick of celery, all diced up to give some body and sweetness to the stew. 2 medium onions, medium large onions, they were sort of in between. But of course those quantities will differ a little bit. A bouquet garni. I only had some thyme, rosemary, and a little bit of parsley left. Some cinnamon. I always put lemon in, it's just a squeeze to balance things. Some bay and some green chilies because I need heat in this cold. Then I've got 4 cloves of garlic, just thickly cut, they don't need to be small. Salt, pepper, freshly ground black pepper. 2 tablespoons of flour for thickening. Tomato puree. Normally I would use a liquid stock, but because I'm using Guinness, I'm using a stock cube, so that there's not too much liquid. Nice little Guinness here. Very bad Irish accent to be sure like. And then I'm just going to put a spoon of chutney in there, a little bit of mustard, and some leftover barbecue seasoning, bit of red wine. This is a sweet-ish red wine because beer can sometimes be bitter. So you want to lift the salt and the sugar levels. So that's basically the ingredients. Nothing too fancy. You can vary, you can put whatever vegetables you want, an artistic license. This isn't an Irish stew, this is a beef and Guinness stew, my way. Disclaimer. Okay, so as you can see, I've got my accessory ring set up on the top, the pot in there. Just going to add a little bit of olive oil. So as you can see, I'm not crowding the pan. I want to get a nice browning on this meat without too much liquid, and I want a nice brown color to impart that flavor, caramelization and color into the overall end product. So these I'll give a stir and then I'll take them out and I'll do another batch. I'm just going to add a little bit of salt and pepper to this lot in the meantime. Alright, so as you can see, the meat's done. There's a nice amount of fond on the bottom of the pan, and we're going to want to start deglazing that off before it burns and sets. So in goes the mirepoix. Just say equal parts celery, onion and carrot. Sofrito in Italian. So now the movement is really essential, where you'll start removing that fond, which is awesome caramelized flavor that you don't want to miss out, and of course you don't want anything sticking. So I didn't brown the meat too much because I've got a lot of dark components in the stew, so I didn't need to push it. So I've got a lot of moisture left in that meat, which will pay off later. It was seasoned well while cooking, so it's not going to be bland. I had to add a little bit more oil while the meat was cooking because there's not a lot of fat in this chuck. So it had soaked up a lot, and I started getting a barbecue smell, and I knew I had to put some oil in that. Okay, the onions are translucent, which is what you want. Then this is the best time to add tomato puree, if it's open, of course. Not too much. This isn't a tomatoey dish, so that's about a tablespoon and a bit. But you want to get your tomato puree cooked out a little bit on a direct hot surface. So it's just starting to stick a bit, so I just need to add in my chilies, bay leaf, touch of lemon, Kagani, and red wine. I'm going to add about half a cup initially. Now that will help deglaze the pan as well. So you just want to make sure that that's happening. Don't worry, I can't see anything either with this cold weather. Put a little bit of flour in just to thicken up somewhat. So before that flour sticks, we're going with a can of Guinness. It's a 440 milliliter can. Just going to start bringing everything together and then see what tweaks I need to make before the meat goes in. Garlic. Should have put the garlic in earlier, but it's not going to be noticeable in any way, shape or form. Now it's very important to get all that fond off the pan. Stop it from burning, but getting that fond off the bottom of the pan so that it doesn't stick, harden, blacken and burn while you're cooking the stew, which will spread and it'll stop the it'll taint the stew. So you just want to make sure you've got a nice clean bottom. Always have a clean bottom. So I'm putting in the beef stock cube, 2 heaped teaspoons of chutney of your choice, going to counteract the bitterness of the beer, 1 spoon of hot mustard. Now any barbecue seasoning, this will add some more spicy element, not too much, because I want cleaner flavors here. I want the beer to shine, which it looks like I'll be adding a bit more of the beer and a touch more wine. Another 1/4 cup of wine. Cheers everyone. About a 1/4 cup more of Guinness. Alright, so we're up to a simmer now. I'm going to put some beef in, probably not all of it, but of course I want as much as possible, and the resting juices. Unfortunately, because you've seen them already, I have to leave some room for the veg. So the onions going raw here because I want that stewy, soupy-esque flavor on the onions. We did in the mirepoix, there was some earlier for the sweetness and the caramelization. Okay, so it's a pretty tight pot. You never want to have a pot too full that everything is squashed and pressured, because then the contact at the bottom of the pot's gonna burn then, because there won't be as much moisture underneath. I think I'm probably a little bit overcrowded here, but we'll see. I'm going to drop this temp as soon as I can. Not easy on a KJ, but I'm going to get it to a nice 130 140, 150 degrees centigrade. Remember, season at every step. And I'm happy with the amount of liquid here. The veg will still give off some liquid. So make sure everything's nicely coated, and I'll come and stir it in a little while. Okay, I'm happy that there's no sticking. So I'm just going to trust the process. Keep it nice and low, simmering gently like that. That's perfect for tough cuts of meat. Probably want it a little bit dark with all that Guinness in, but it'll be tasty. Okay, so I'm an hour in. Let's have a quick look. Beautiful. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave the lid off, so we can get some browning of the meat and some darker browning of this. I'll have to pop in every half an hour or so to stir things around. But yeah, looking great. Probably still another hour off at least before the meat is tender. Luckily the chuck was in itself tender. I tried some just after the browning and was very surprised. And great to have a nice surprise that it's not going to take 4 hours. Hopefully 2 is good enough. But yeah, just gorgeous. Okay, so as you can see with the lid off, the browning that's taken place makes that beautiful. It's thickened up nicely, but it's still got a way to go, but just delicious. I can tell this is going to be good. No sticking, nice and gentle. It's what the fans want. So at this stage I'm going to place the lid back on because there's been a substantial amount of liquid loss and the browning has increased. Just beautiful. I don't want to lose any more liquid. I'm happy with the consistency. Looks very, very good. So I'll put the lid back on, and I'm probably going to keep it low and slow. It's been sitting at about 150, and then I'm going to leave it for another hour, and then it's time to eat. Okay, so about 3.5 hours in, it's got to be ready now. And my mouth is watering. The smells are amazing coming off the KJ. Let's see how it looks. Luckily the meat wasn't too tough. Chuck is generally known as a very tough cut, but today wasn't the case, so it should be gorgeous. Let's pull it out and have a look. Okay, so I hope this isn't too overexposed with the lighting. Storm is raging on. Man, that looks good. Okay, well, it's real tough shooting under lights, especially I'm not qualified to do so or trained to do so, and my lights probably aren't adequate, but the overexposure aside, I'm extremely happy with this. The sauce or the gravy of the stew is perfect. I was a little bit doubtful on the color, but with the lid off, it darkened a little bit, and the meat darkened, and everything just looks absolutely spot on. So I'm just going to cleanse my palate first. Here's the meat. Fall apart, goodness, fall apart. That is astounding. I didn't even check finally for seasoning and all that, but it's spot on. It's really amazing. I'm really happy to have cooked that. Storm aside, I'm undercover. Yes, the wind is atrocious, the rain's atrocious, but the food is good. Give this a try. Thank you for watching, and I need to get stuck into this because it's been it's about 3.5 hours, 4 hours cook, and depth of winter, and this is just screaming depth of winter comfort food. So I hope you enjoyed watching this. I'm gonna get stuck in, man. this meat. Beyond fork tender. I hope this video made you warm and fuzzy inside, because it's doing that with me. Thank you very much, and that's it. I know it's been a long wait, but whoo-wee, that stuff is banging. Banging, banging. So tender, so warm, so earthy. Long live Guinness. I hope they saw the velvetyness and unctuousness, but it's hard with this overexposure. But I'm going to overexpose myself with some vino in the meantime and get that in my throat.